welcome all of you, and today we are going to read on the courage to be disliked. So, we'll be discussing the topics of why people can change, number one, and including in that, we'll be talking about the Adlerian psychology, which is from Greek mythology as well. So, the thing is, on the other hand, it gives you an opportunity to look beyond the topics of changing, interpersonal changing, people changing, and their characteristics changing, how we can change and why we are not able to change deep inside ourselves, right? That is one question like most of we have. And on the other hand, in this Greek philosophy, there is this ideology called Adlerian psychology. So how we can adapt ourselves into changing ourselves to help ourselves change with regards to Adlerian psychology. So we'll be talking about those things. So first of all, the point of discussion is whether people can change and why people are not changing. So we have to take it a step further, saying that everyone can find happiness in changing, right? So the philosopher is asking. So philosophy is stating that everyone can change without exception, right? So the question would be the discussion about happiness for later. We have to address it first. Everyone wishes they would change, right? And I know I do too, and you do too, and I'm sure anyone you might stop and ask on the street would agree as well. So people need to change, people would like to change, because everybody is on this race to find happiness. Somehow, sooner or later, we are out to find happiness in our life. So we are supposed to change in the better way for that. But why does everyone feel they want to change? That is the question, and there is only one answer for that. They wouldn't spend so much time wishing they could if they could change, actually. So no matter how much people they wish it, people cannot change. Deep inside them, people cannot change. They can't find that something, the it factor, they can't find it. So, and that's why there are always so many people getting taken in by these new religious and dubious self-help seminars and any preaching on how everyone can change. So you might wonder, am I wrong at this point? Because people are taking on new religions. Somebody might say they are not even religious. Some people might go into these dubious self-help seminars and praying and stuff, because everyone is in the mission to find self happiness to their own souls, right? And in response, I ask why you are so adamant that people can change. Somebody might ask, the philosopher is asking all the questionnaires or the students, why are you so adamant that people cannot change? That is the counter argument. So somebody might say, the philosopher might say, is saying that people can change, and because of these factors, people are out to change. But the counter argument will be people cannot change. Somehow people cannot change. And the counter argument is based on this. And the youth explains that he has a friend, and it's a guy friend, and who has shut himself in his room for several years, right? That is a backstory. And he wishes to go out, and even thinks he'd like to have a job, and if possible, so he wants to change the way he is right now. And I say this as his friend, but I assure you, he is a very serious person. He's a very serious person who could be of great use to the society if he goes out and paves his way just like any other person would be, except that he is afraid to leave his room, right? If he takes a single step outside his room, he suffers palpitations and his arms and legs shake. On the contrary, he is suffering panic attacks, right? It's a kind of neurosis or panic, and I suppose he wants to change, but he can't. So this is the situation. That is why the youth says people cannot change, that this person cannot change. For example, he has given the story. The philosopher says, what do you think is the reason that he can't go out? And the explanation is, youth says, I'm not really sure if it could be because of his relationship with his parents or past trauma. Basically past trauma. Everybody says we are undergoing something right now, we are doing something now due to our past traumas, right? Or because he was bullied at school or at work. He might have experienced a kind of trauma from something like that, and anybody could relate to that. But then it could be the opposite. Maybe he was too pampered as a child or can't face reality right now. I just don't know, and I can't pry him into his past and his family situation. So that is basically fair. And the philosopher once again says, so you are saying there were incidents in your friend's past that became the cause of this trauma. or something similar. And as a result, he can't go out anymore because of all the past traumas. He can't go out anymore. Right now, he is facing something. He's doing something because of something he faced in his past, right? And the youth says, of course, that is the reason. Before an effect, there's a cause. It's like there's a reason for every cause, right? There is nothing mysterious about that. And youth says that's a fair explanation. And the philosopher says, then perhaps the cause of his not being able to, the cause of him not being able to go out anymore lies in the home environment in his childhood. Perhaps that. He was abused by his parents and reached adulthood without ever feeling love. And that's why he's afraid of interacting with people and why he can't go out, right? So it's feasible, isn't it? It's feasible. It's very comfortable to give out reasons for something that you are going right now, something you are doing right now, to pave out the reasons to your past self. Your childhood or your past adulthood, because of these traumas, because of these things, I am doing such thing right now. And the youth says, yes, it's entirely feasible, and I'd imagine that would be really challenging, right? So he says that would be really challenging, right? And the philosopher once again questions, and then you say before an effect, there's a cause. Oh, in other words, who I am now is determined by the occurrences in the past. And is that correct? And the answer is yes, it is correct. But the question is from the philosopher, so if the here and now of everyone in the world is due to their past incidents, according to you, according to every one of you, wouldn't things turn up very strangely, very differently, right? And don't you see that everyone who has grown up abused by his or her parents would have to suffer the same effects as your friend in the story and became a recluse, solitude person in a corner of his house, in his room, solitude, never going out, and everyone has to do that exact same thing because all the people who have been abused in the past by teachers, parents, and anyone would be doing this then. Or the whole idea just doesn't hold water, right? That is, if the past actually determines the present and the causes control the effects, then everything is determined by the past effects, past causes, past sceneries, right? And the youth asks, what exactly are you getting at? So he's now wondering, what is this reasoning, right? And the philosopher will be focusing on this. If we focus only on past causes and try to explain things solely through the cause and effect method, we end up with determinism. So that is determinism, because everything will be explained in the past. Everything we are doing right now, everything which is happening right now will be explained in the past effects, past sceneries, past anything past. That is the whole philosophy of determinism. So that is wrong, because what this says is that our present and our future have already been decided. So there's no point actually living. If everything has been decided in the past, there's no point actually living, right? Past occurrences and are unalterable. So is it the fact that he is explaining? So that is the standpoint of Adlerian psychology. That is the standpoint of Adlerian psychology, which is coming from Greek philosophy, right? So in Adlerian psychology, I'll explain for anyone who is having conflicts and who are confused right now. It is exactly like the youth student who is actually confused, that he sees the points of conflict seems a bit clearer, but look, if we go by your version, right, wouldn't that ultimately mean that there's no reason my friend can't go out anymore, right? Because you are saying that past incident doesn't matter. According to the philosopher, past incident doesn't matter. So I'm sorry, but that's completely out of the question. There has to be some reason behind his seclusion, and there has to be, or there'd be no explanation, right? And philosopher says, indeed, there would be no explanation. So in Adlerian psychology, we do not think about the past causes, but rather about present goals, right? So what are these present goals? Your friend is insecure. Number one, your friend is insecure, so he can't go out. Think about it the other way around. He doesn't want to go out, so he's creating a state of anxiety. This is Adlerian psychology, because nothing is in the past. He has a need, he has an aim to not to go out, and because of that, based on that, he's creating this false scenario, false anxiety inside his head, false state of anxiety inside his head, to as a cause not to go out. So if the youth asks, so he is not feeling any anxiety, panic attacks or nothing. No, he is feeling that. To be precise, that person is actually feeling that anxiety and all the panic attacks inside his head, but his aim is not to go out. So because of that, his mind is creating that false sense of anxiety and panic attacks, but his body is truly feeling all those effects, panic attacks and anxiety. His body is also always feeling that, but because the need is not to go out, and he is creating everything inside his head, and that is explained in Adlerian psychology, because these are not even in the past, these are all the senses and scenarios we create in the future, present and present self right now things. So think about it in this way: your friend has the goal of not going out beforehand, he has had that beforehand. Now he's been manufacturing a state of anxiety and fear as means to achieve that goal. In Adlerian psychology, this is called teleology, right? This is called teleology. So if somebody might say, so you're joking, my friend, that friend has imagined his anxiety and fear. So would you go as far as saying that that friend is pretending to be sick? No, that is not the case. The explanation is, he's not pretending to be sick, he's actually feeling that. Again, once again, as I told you, he's actually feeling that. The anxiety and fear your friend is feeling are real, for real. On occasion, he might also suffer from migraines and violent stomach cramps, right? However, these two are symptoms that he has created in order to achieve the goal of not going out. So, I know right now, none of you are in the position to believe this, but still, that is a valid argument, right? This is the difference between etiology, which is the study of causation. Just like in medical science, etiology is the study of causation, but teleology, the study of the purpose of a given phenomenon rather than its cause. Teleology, which a derivative of Adlerian psychology, is the study of the purpose of a given phenomenon rather than its cause. We are studying the phenomenon itself rather than its cause. Everything you have been telling the story, according to the story, is based on etiology, study of the causation. But as long as we stay in etiology, we will not take a single step forward, because we will only study the cause. We will not study the phenomenon itself. Studying the phenomenon is teleology and derivative of Adlerian psychology, and that is how we explain that situation from Adlerian psychology, which comes directly from Greek philosophy. So that is one way the people can change. Right? People have to see things in the way of teleology. We have to study the phenomenon. Whatever happens in our lives, me, you, everybody who's seeing this, whatever happens, we have to see the teleology itself. We have to study the phenomenon rather than its cause, and then change our attitude to alter the phenomenon. For in future, we can alter the phenomenon, and that is how we can change.